Do you feel like a relationship is uniquely broken, like beyond repair, and that no advice could possibly help your situation? This feeling is paralyzing. She's saying she doesn't want to be with you anymore. Nothing's going to help. And it just becomes this self fulfilling prophecy where we don't take any action because what's the point? Through this video, I'm going to show you how to shed that lie, rediscover what power you still actually have, and build a love again that defies the odds, regardless of whatever's going on right now. My marriage collapsed. I found a program. I became a coach. I actually loved helping. Now, I'm writing a book and running this YouTube to share the lessons. Oh, and I did save my family. If you want more free stuff on fixing your relationship, there is going to be a link in the description with a guide to help you to get back emotional control so that you can stop the entropy, the slow collapse over time that's causing those feelings of it being unique and hopeless. So first, we're going to talk about why you're feeling that your situation is unique, that nobody could help here, why that is actually the most common situation, the most common trap that people find themselves in. So the feeling that your circumstance is A, B, C, things going wrong all at the same time, so nothing would possibly work for me. That's a universal pattern. Like we see it all the time. But we convince ourselves that our problems are specially different because it strangely makes the whole predicament feel a lot more bearable. Well, if you were in my situation, there's nothing that you'd be able to do either. That I've really done everything I can here, that I've tried everything, and the thing to do is to give up at this point. It's a little bit less crushing to the ego, the pride, the dignity that we have, the effort that we put in, the years that we gave, the money that we earned and that we put into the family, all of that. It doesn't feel as painful if you feel like, well, there's nothing that could have been done any better. Okay. So one client of mine recognized what was happening though. He spotted what was happening to him when he was having these thoughts. He said to me in our Discord community, how can I reinterpret the overwhelming feeling of sadness and of missing out that I get when I watch, like I saw an advert about spending time with loved ones, and it's got this guy and it's got his wife and it's got his son on there. And he felt like this, he told me that he felt like this envy taking over and thoughts of like, why has life been so cruel to me? And he was thinking there, maybe it's not the situation that's the problem, but it's what he tells himself afterwards. That telling himself this story is the real problem there. And I answered him, I said, yes, interpretations are our second thoughts about something. So it's what you tell yourself after. And every single one of those interpretations that we have that's been put there, whether it's been consciously or unconsciously by our experiences, by our history, by our upbringing, by what we heard in school, what we heard from friends, what we heard from TV and movies and books and social media, all creating confirmation biases where we believe something and we stack rocks on that side, and it gets easier and easier to just stack more evidence on the side that we already believe, that confirmation bias. Reinterpreting these feelings of like my situation being uniquely impossible and that there is no hope because I failed and I've failed and I've failed here. Therefore, trying again is a waste of effort. We can reinterpret that and break down what's actually happening in that interpretation. Realizing that interpretation was just something that was put there a long time ago, like I said, and it could easily be unhelpful and inaccurate. And like the better interpretation that I suggested that he adopt, if let's just say it is unique, right? Let's just say that it is special. If we can find a cure for that though, if we can find a cure that works in all situations, if all situations have the same root cause, and the root cause that I taught to him in the course, the root cause is this breakdown of safety and admiration and alignment that she doesn't feel like she can express. She no longer feels that kind of glue bonding her with him because she can't see in him all the things that she really feels inspired by and uplifted by. and she's not feeling that alignment, like they're heading in the same direction. And if all situations have the same root cause, then they will have the same remedies, which is just attacking those three things. If all issues have the same remedies, then who gives a flying fuck about how unique your specific details of your situation are? We know that the medicine works, so we just take the medicine. So, if your problems aren't really unique, if the same thing is cropping up again and again, even when it seems impossible, what is really going on when all hope seems lost like this? What is it that's really going on when we feel ourselves in this place? We're always going to feel this way when we fall into the inevitable valley of despair. The valley of despair is not just something that I came up with, that's like a well-known thing. And I'm going to explain what it is. If you do anything meaningful for long enough, like so working in a profession or a sport or in relationships, if you do anything for long enough without actually having started out as a true master of it, there's a pattern that will repeat itself. So this is a very common place that people find themselves in this valley. And so I want to actually show you, okay, this is the valley of despair. So what actually happens? We start off with growing motivation. This is motivation going up, 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 right? And there's a lot of optimism, which is really fueled by our ignorance. We're this guy at the start. We just don't know. We're very optimistic, so we're climbing with great optimism and motivation. You're in the honeymoon period. Everything seems great about this person. Everything seems great in the marriage. You're running on all of the fumes from the honeymoon and how amazing things were there. Everything's great. Intimacy, you can get through arguments and things, and you can dust things off, and you admire each other enough that you can get through it. That's just the Dunning-Kruger effect. This is a statistic from surveys. If you ask people if they're in the top 10% of drivers, more than 50% of people say that they think that they are. And that can't be true, right? It just can't be mathematically. So it's optimism fueled by ignorance. It's that Dunning-Kruger effect that we overestimate our ability precisely because we haven't gone through the hard times. We haven't had to fight for it yet. We think we're much better at it than we really are. That's the Dunning-Kruger effect. And finding this out should not be something to further diminish your hope. This should not be something to make you think then, so I'm just a fuck up then. We don't want to think that way. We want to actually see it as a great thing that we can, in any situation, learn more. And we know that the bad times are coming. We know that there are going to be challenges up ahead. But as long as we are willing to learn and fight through the hard times, that's what we mean by sickness and in health. That you push through these times and you will learn so much from it and you'll come out better as a better person, a more skilled person who can navigate hard things. So don't be afraid of that Dunning-Kruger effect. It's great when you find out that you don't know things, you have an opportunity to improve, and it is possible to improve. Okay, so we come to a point where things start to get harder, okay? The exclamation mark above this guy's head here. And motivation begins to plummet along with it. On the fall into this informed pessimism, first we find ourselves lacking in opportunities. So your partner doesn't want to go on dates. She doesn't want to talk about it. She doesn't have the motivation to go to couples counseling with you. And you feel like, I'm wanting to fix things. I want to work on stuff. Why doesn't she want to? She won't talk to me. She stonewalls me. Okay, so we find ourselves lacking opportunities. We don't know how to create opportunities, and motivation keeps falling. Then we come across lots of different circumstances that feel very unusual to us. We haven't heard others talk about them. We haven't seen anybody else talk about this stuff. None of our friends and family have ever kind of like told us to expect this or how to deal with this. And that's because people who are in this place are feeling very hurt, and they're feeling very hopeless, and they're feeling very, very vulnerable. And it's very, very uncommon for people to talk about these things. So outside of like counseling and therapy and all those kinds of situations, people don't talk about this stuff at the dinner parties and the barbecues, and like your mates going out for a beer are not likely to talk about just exactly how frustrated they are with their inability to figure out their partner. It's just not what people talk about, not guys especially. So it makes us feel as though our road is a lot harder to walk than other people's paths are. Now, there's a line that I've kind of plotted through here, and it's a gradual rising straight line. And there's a bridge over the valley. There's a bridge over any difficulties. The reason I've drawn this on here as well, this line, is because this wrongfully represents how we actually expect life to be, how we imagine life should be. Is we imagine that I'm going to keep working on things and it's going to keep going up, and that we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, and we'll get across and it'll be okay. That is wrong. You are not, when you're here, you are not equipped to deal with the valley. You imagine there will be a bridge, but you get there and there is no bridge. There is no way across. Okay? So this special circumstance is like when you get to the valley and you think there's got to be a way across, but it's just thorns. And it's just like rapids and jagged rock, and you cannot see a way. Okay? So you want to give up on the journey at the wrong expectation. And then that further deepens the hopelessness and the desire to give up as the motivation recedes. So finally, we begin to see ourselves as the victim of unfair, unique circumstances. We get to the bottom of the valley, right? Where this guy is like, you probably can't see it, but he's like crosses in his eyes because he's just knocked out by this point. He's hit his chin on the way down and he's just really out for the count. We now have informed pessimism. This is the bottom. It feels very, very uniquely unfair that now she's saying she's moving out, she's seeing someone else, she's taking us to the cleaners, there's lawyers involved, we're going to lose the house, we're going to lose the kids, we're going to everything. And we haven't done anything particularly egregious or anything, but it feels like, I've heard of plenty of different situations, like the partner has suddenly decided that they want to leave everything behind and move overseas. Like all of this completely unique, impossible situations where all of the power feels sucked out of you and it's in her hands. The family's fate is completely in her hands. There's nothing you can do. Okay. So now we know what we don't know. We have that informed pessimism. It is at this point that most people choose to escape the situation to a perceived easier option. And, just like I said, I sketched on here like what people expect. I've also sketched on here what people tend to do. So we expect that life should be this fairly straight line heading up when it's not. We also tend, when we get to the bottom of the valley, to take the staircase. We go back and we go up the staircase to a different path. We go for the grass is greener. We get out of the valley not by trying to get through the valley to the other side, but just by saying, fuck this journey then. Okay? So you head up the stairs to a different path that looks more like how they imagined life should be. And look, don't for a second think that this is me preaching at you. I definitely thought about moving on. I definitely thought about all of these things as well. I just knew that I hadn't tapped out everything that I could do and everything that was in my power still. And I wanted to give that a shot for the kids, for her, for the life that we had built. So yes, everyone thinks about this. Not everybody takes the stairs. And it won't be long. And like one of the big reasons why I didn't want to take the stairs to learn all the lessons, like learn in the valley before moving on, is because it won't be long before the people who took those stairs see that they're just on this part again. They're just on that initial climb. They get out and they're just on this initial climb of a new hill with a new valley of despair just waiting beyond it. And the grass truly isn't greener on the other side most of the time. So instead of this slow rise throughout their lives heading up, what they're actually just going to do is this. It's just going to go up and down, never moving to anywhere better. So, one way or another, we have a choice to make. Do we abandon the path, the journey, and just learn later just as painfully when even more time has passed and when even more has been lost? Like there's the kids and the wife here, when even more has been lost? Or do we stick to it and learn under fire right now? And the good news is the road out is actually much clearer than it looks. So what is that path? The path to informed optimism. So we ask ourselves instead, when we feel like it's very unique, we feel like we have lack of opportunities, we feel like there's very special circumstances, we ask ourselves instead, is it really all that unique? Can I find a course, many courses, videos online, experts talking about how these exact kinds of situations have been turned around? Like I've talked about my situation a lot, but it really was, I helped my wife move out on my birthday. I helped move the furniture. I brought the trailer and helped move everything. And my kids were bouncing around excited to see mummy's apartment, okay, on my birthday. Hearing her say that she didn't really care if we divorced. All of these things. You can go from that to what we have now. We can do anything together now. She supports me in everything and I support her in everything. And we're aligned in our direction and she can talk to me about anything that's going on anytime. And it's not just me saying that, it's like she knows. She'll come to me to tell me stuff. I don't have to ask. And she admires me and she is constantly showing that admiration. So we can move from a very, very dark place to somewhere that's better. It's actually better than it was before. So is it really all that unique when I can tell you that my story, I definitely made it through the valley from a very, very, very dark place to make it through. And so many other people make it through. Okay. So do I really have nothing that I can control? Is it true that there's nothing that I could be doing differently? Not a single thing? Is it true that I can't take lessons and follow some steps? If I can find a book or I can find a course that can teach me some steps and some lessons? Even if my road looks harder than I'd expected, does that necessarily mean that it's impossible? That could be what everyone else goes through as well, but they don't talk about it. Can I not just keep walking and be ready when those opportunities inevitably come and know how to make the best of them? Like actually know what to do. We can eventually then, through all those lessons and steps, we can make those opportunities. We can eventually get to a place of informed optimism. You just need to keep taking steps on the journey, focusing on your responsibility and what you can control. And yeah, I spent months, even when I joined a program, right? I spent months asking, what's the point? And second guessing and thinking about moving on, dating, things like that. But I realized you need to keep taking those steps in the journey and focusing on your responsibility and what you can control without needing an immediate reward, without needing to get there tomorrow. Okay. That's what the hero would do. They'd focus on their responsibility and what they can control, knowing that I will either gain from this by learning and being a better co-parent and building a stronger relationship, which is less likely to take me to the cleaners, even if we don't end up back together. I have more access to my kids. She's a lot happier because she's not feeling anxious about talking to her ex. Everyone wins, even if you don't win in the way that you were expecting. Everybody wins if you take this hard road. So that's something I realized, and I stopped second guessing. I stopped asking those what ifs. I stopped trying to take the stairs, and I just burned the boats. I just burn this bridge. I don't care about it. I'm going to keep going. And, if this really doesn't lead where I was thinking, it's going to lead somewhere great. It's not going to lead back to another hill of that uninformed optimism. So if that's what we need to do, so how do we actually become that hero? How do we actually become the hero in our relationships? So to become the hero of your relationship, we want to focus on love towards our family, our kids, our partner, despite the challenges that are being thrown at us. Love is a verb. Love is an active thing. You choose to love people. You don't need necessarily to receive love back. You can still show that love thinking about what you received in the past. We want to act like a performer. We want to be ready to actually take those opportunities when they arise. And that's not like a dancing monkey pretending to be something that we're not. That's just saying that I'm going to bring my best me. Best David is coming out each time. I'm not going to be inconsistent. I'm actually consciously thinking today could be the day when we talk. And I'm going to be my best. Like you were when you were dating. You weren't being fake when you were dating your partner. That was you performing. That was you at your best. So why would you not bring that now? And that effort is what creates all that admiration. So why wouldn't we do this? So another thing that we're doing is we're finding joy in the journey. And I've talked about this plenty of times before, but it's like not this cliched thing of like, love the journey. It's actually, no, seriously, like learning about other people, learning about relationships, reading books on this stuff, podcasts on this stuff, figuring out where you went wrong can actually become little rewarding all the time. It's nice to go to bed knowing that you got it like 1% better today. It's not going to give you a big dopamine kick. It's not going to make you feel great in the same way that having everything back the way you wanted might make you feel great. But it's like a satisfaction. It's that eudaimonic instead of the hedonic satisfaction that the Greeks talked about. So we don't compare ourselves to others. We don't say, but Bob's off having a wonderful time with his wife and they're very happy and she's so loving and how come that's so unfair? We don't do that. Other people are going to have their difficult periods as well. Other people are going to have their valley of despair as well. So don't envy them. You might see a guy driving past with a beautiful lady and a Ferrari and he might be 4 million in debt. He might, don't compare yourself to others. You're only seeing their highlights. Focus on where you are at and making that just a little bit better each day. Don't even compare yourself to what you had before, okay? Just compare yourself to, like, as you go along your journey, keep looking back and comparing yourself to how you started out. So as you learn, as you improve, you take steps, you begin to create some basic safety. Look back to when you were just destroying safety with everything that you did or completely clueless. Look back and compare yourself to that and be proud of it. That growth, mythologize that journey that you're taking. We want to be a loving guardian of your new identity. So what does this mean? When you're becoming the hero, you're choosing to take responsibility for everything. You're choosing to focus on what you can do, not on what others need to do, not on the broken system or how unfair the world is. We're just focused on your power, what you can actually do today. I can listen to my partner. I can do those things that she's said that it'd be great if I could helped with. What can I do? A loving guardian of your new identity is like if you've decided to be the hero like that, if you've decided to be someone who's happy to give their best, not expecting anything back for now, just honoring what you had in the past and just work on it without getting a reward, you actually look after that identity and give yourself a pat on the back for that. Continuing to look back and see all the ways that you've grown and that you've changed and how great it is that you're doing this. And you're not doing it for everyone else. Sure you are. You're doing it for you as well. You're also doing it because it's just the right thing to do. And that that's who you want to be. That's the person you want to become. So looking after that feeling. And then we want to create safety, obviously, for our partner. And we want to fight the enemies. So enemies are things like entropy in the relationship. Entropy meaning that like all the little things that don't get taken care of and they slowly create stress and chaos in the household. You want to take care of some of that stuff. Any way that we're not looking after our health or we're not looking after the kids the way we perhaps ought to be, we slowly get a little bit better at looking after those things to push back entropy. When it comes to confirmation bias, if you know that your partner always thinks that you're going to be late, your partner is always going to expect you to be angry, then we flip her expectations. We don't feed that enemy of confirmation bias. We show her that we can be patient and take a breath before we say something. So just lots of ways that we fight those enemies, right? So I want to wrap up with key takeaways from all of this. This is very high level identity sort of stuff. This is very interpretation based stuff. But there are very, very strong takeaways that we need to have from all of this. So, your perception of the uniqueness and the hopelessness in your relationship is just a powerful illusion. That's all it is. It feels so real, but it's just a very powerful illusion. And by focusing on your controllable steps, the little things that you can do each day, and the new things you're going to learn how to do, so that if you feel like what I've got isn't good enough, who cares? You're going to learn a little bit more each day. Soon, what you have will be good enough. Just because it hasn't worked for you in the past, that doesn't mean it's going to not work for you forever. You're going to hit a point where you can. This isn't just about getting your partner back either. It's not about just getting them back by chasing them. It is about, if you become this person, you become this hero, then you will naturally do the things that that hero does. And so you can effortlessly have the kinds of things that they naturally have. You're going to build a life and a self that just radiates that strength. Whether your partner sees it or not, somebody will. Okay? And things will be amazing for you because of what you build down in that valley. And look, if you found value in all of this, if this hit you, if this started to give you a tiny bit of hope, or maybe at least made you realize that you don't need to be completely hopeless yet, subscribe. We're going to have more insights on saving your relationship in future videos. And remember, the grass is going to be greener where we water it. And you can find hope when you keep taking those steps to just water the garden and keep learning how it all really works. You're going to learn this stuff sooner or later when you choose to go through the valley. Just keep walking.